All right. Hello and welcome to Live Action Fitness with me, Coach Jason. I'm joined here today by Rachel Giles, friend of the program here, working with Dr. Kelly Pham from Reach Pediatric Therapy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I told you a little bit about Live Action Fitness when I was visiting the new office that you guys have over near Tyson's Corner.
Yes.
So, what was your first reaction when I told you about Live Action Fitness?
I was really impressed, Jason. It was I think that TTRPGs or tabletop RPGs have such a capacity as like an educational tool and for all ages. I'm a big fan. So I was very excited to learn more about how you were incorporating fitness for children into a D&D like system as a fan of D&D.
Perfect. So, how did you originally discover D&D? Was that the first role-playing game that you played?
Yes. So I have a very dear friend of mine from high school who started a campaign in 2020 that was a homebrew, but we didn't end up getting to finish it because she ended up going back to grad school and had to stop running it, which was really sad because it was incredibly cool. And that was my introduction to the system. And it was just so much fun. I really enjoyed building my character and getting to get to know friends both as themselves and then as the characters that they were playing. It was just so much fun and I really enjoyed it. And then a couple years passed before I got an opportunity to play again. And this past year or so I've been in a few different campaigns and one shots and I've done some D&D and then I've also done some Call of Cthulhu is the other sort of RPG that I have familiarity with.
Oh, yeah, that's right, and I haven't gotten to play that one yet, but that sounds like a ton of fun. So, you got into D&D, started playing the games, and didn't you tell me recently somebody asked you about running a session for them?
Yes. So my younger brother and his friends, actually, I think I'll be running a session for them soon. It's my first time as a GM or DM or anything like that. So I'm a little bit nervous because I don't have a ton of experience even as a player, but I think it's going to be really fun because I think it's going to be a very casual group. So I'm a bit relieved by that.
Yeah, that's good. You don't need
Yeah.
a ton of pressure right away. You're just having fun with
Yeah,
friends and
absolutely.
family. Yeah, keep it cool, keep it playful. So, that's great. Welcome to the other side here of the DM screen where you're actually
Yeah.
running the games. It's funny. It's like we're all playing the game, but it's such a different role. It's a whole nother task actually. So, we'll have to get into it another day about what it's like to actually plan and prep for
Oh
those
my gosh.
sessions.
Yes. I could use the
Yeah.
advice and and any tips that you have.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be putting out all of that stuff about not just how to play and like what the rules are and the game mechanics, but a huge guidebook on how to make sure that all your sessions are running smoothly, make sure everybody's having fun at the table. That is critical. And
Yeah.
it's very much an art form. It's
Yeah.
sometimes I think of it like stand-up comedy or improv. You got to really be able to go with the flow, but you have some sort of plan. And so it's an artful balancing act.
Yeah. Well, I think the role of the game master in whatever like RPG it is, like the players get to be all of the actors in the story that you're telling. And then the game master has to do like literally everything else. Like you're the stage manager and you're the director and you're the cinematographer and you're lighting and all you're
Yeah.
building the sets and everything. So I think it's a much more involved role, I think, than just being a player. Because like I think as a player, you have weeks where you might not take notes or not take as detailed notes week to week, but that's not really an option. I think for the game master, you gotta be more plugged in.
Yeah, absolutely. You're keeping so many more things all in mind together, like, all at the same time, like, you're spinning more plates, so
Yeah,
the players are in charge of themselves, and what are they gonna do, like, how are we gonna work through this scenario, and then they get to team up, right? They could talk to each other, make a game plan, right? You're on the other side as the dungeon master, or in our game, we'll get into this, it's called the tour guide, right? So, as the tour guide, you're making plans and responding to all the players and also keeping in mind stuff that's in the background that hasn't even yet occurred,
right.
right?
You have to
And
be
so
so
then
many
you pull
steps
out
ahead.
yeah, you have to pull out and introduce these new elements to the game and then see how they react, and so you never know where it's gonna go, which is part of the fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of part of the fun, you are invited to our very first LAF demonstration. So this is going to be a short and sweet little taste of LAF, 45 minutes on November 23rd. All right. We talked about this before, but please come play in
Yeah,
the game.
absolutely. I
All
You
right.
sent me the email and I put it on my calendar immediately. I was ready to go. I'm ready to be back in a campaign and ready to experience the world that LAF is. So add another RPG to the tool belt.
Yeah. Fantastic. So we're gearing up, getting the team together. So we're going to be creating our characters. This is going to be a little bit like our session zero.
Okay.
And then we're going to come together on November 23rd. So it'll be me and up to 4 players. So we'll do a little bit of moving around. We'll play some movement mini games, have some fun. Okay. Earn some money, earn some gold, which is going to be very important in the game. And then we get into the intro adventure. All right. So short and sweet. So everyone can be there November 23rd. We'll put out all the details. So the first thing we need to do is create your character. All right. So we start out, we're playing in the world of Aeronaut. Okay.
Okay.
Created by Matt Click from actually, surprise, absolutetabletop.com. You can see that.
Oh, awesome.
Huh? So we have our world setting and the map and everything ready to go. You get your letter in the mail. It's an invitation to the Bard's College Adventure Academy. We see great potential in you, Rachel.
Wow.
So
I
you
feel
get
like I'm
this
getting
letter.
accepted to college again. This is so exciting.
It's right. That's right. And of course, it's the letter is sealed with wax. You see the Bard's College signet pressed into the wax, and you open up your invitation letter. It includes a little map so that you can actually figure out where you are. So, the Bard's College Adventure Academy is located on the island of Haldrethene. So, your first challenge will be to get to the island of Haldrethene. Okay?
Okay.
You'll be spawning all the way down south in the jungle of Kel.
Okay.
The letter tells you find Aunt Edna's walking hut. Aunt Edna, a wandering woods witch, she takes care of the lost boys, and her walking hut will take you to the rendezvous point right on the shore. Okay, so you'll leave the jungle and go out to the beach, and right on the shore where you'll be picked up by the Siren's Regret, which is the name of a very large pirate ship captained by someone named Mad Mel and his first mate, Bosun. That is where you're going to start, the
Okay.
jungle of Kelt. Okay? You got your letter in the mail. Do you have any questions so far?
What was the name of the place that we're traveling to?
The Bard's College Adventure Academy.
Okay, no, the island, I apologize.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's okay. The Bard's College is located on the island of Haldrethene.
Haldrethene, okay, that was the
Haldrethene.
one where
Hmm.
I didn't quite catch.
Nope. No worries. And I'll be able to actually, I'll show you the map and everything.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. So all you got to do, the real trick is finding Aunt Edna and getting to the rendezvous point, and then that pirate ship will take you to the island.
Okay,
Okay. So the real question now is who are you? Okay. So as we're playing the game, now it's a whole new beginning. This is character creation. Okay, so first we do character creation. Then, when you're playing the game, we'll go through our adventures. And from then on, it's character development.
right.
Okay, where you're growing, you're learning about who you are, what you like, what you care about, how you work as a team, what your fears are, all of that stuff as your character develops. But first, we got to create your character. So we'll do that now.
It's
All
always the
right.
best part.
Yeah, this is it's always fun. You've got a bit of D&D experience here, so I'll ask you, the first thing we're looking for is your archetype.
Okay,
Okay, so that's basically normally you'd call it your class. Sometimes it's your race in your class. They go together. So you've got different archetypes, of course, like the barbarian or the fighter and paladin. You've got rogues and warlocks, witches, druids, all sorts of stuff here. So I want to first open it up to you and see if something already strikes you as what you want to create.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it seems like we're gonna need some heavies if we're going on if it seems like we might need there might be some scraps along the way if there's a jungle and a pirate ship. So I
Might
feel
be.
like I'm definitely leaning more like barbarian or fighter.
Okay.
Uh, so
And
yeah.
yeah, this is like an exploration here. So it doesn't, you don't have to know up front. Sometimes I ask players who have a little bit more experience because they're already like, oh,
Oh,
I
okay.
know what I want to
Okay.
make. You've got, okay, some good ideas. You said barbarian or fighter, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now we just have a general idea of what the archetype would be.
Okay.
Other people, they want to be, well, actually, we'll go through this right now. We have three core stats in live action fitness. Okay. I'm going to give you all three stats. And what I want you to think about is putting them in the order of your choice:
Mm,
first, middle, and third. All
okay.
right. First, second, third. Easy. So your three core stats. First, you have warrior. Okay. Warrior stat. So you're strong, you're powerful, you're athletic, like a barbarian or a fighter or a paladin, which is a kind of like holy knight for anyone in the audience. We have a lot of new players in the audience, so we're trying to make sure everything is making sense. So the warrior stat comes first. Okay, keep that in mind. The next one is rogue. So someone who's sneaky, someone who's clever, or maybe has a really good way with people, a way with words. Maybe they're a master negotiator, they're charismatic, or maybe they're just a thief in the night. I don't know. A rogue, that's your second stat. And third is mage. So this is your magic stat. This is for all the types of magic, whether it's a wizard, a sorcerer, a druid, a cleric, a warlock, and so on. Okay. You don't have to worry about different types of magic and where you get it from. Like, I'm going to take care of all of that. But you have warrior, rogue, and mage as the three core stats. So now, which one is your number one top stat?
First, I just wanted to pause and say that this is already so much easier than making a character for Dungeons and Dragons. I love how you simplified that to like those three core stats. I think that's excellent because I always struggle when I'm trying to like divide up all of my points between the seven or eight or however many different stats. So I think that's
Yeah.
awesome off the bat. I
Thank
think
you.
that I'm going to put it in the same order that you listed it in. So I'm going to
Uh,
go warrior, rogue, mage.
Okay. Warrior at the top, then rogue, then mage.
Yes, absolutely.
Easy. Okay. And when I do this in person, especially for the kids who are joining the program, we'll do character creation during their free intro session. So we do a bit of working out, we get to know each other. I'm showing them the map. They get the letter in the mail if they're invited to the Bard's College. And then I actually put cards down on the floor, warrior, rogue, and mage, and you
Mhm.
can select and see which one you physically put this one at the top and move the cards into the order of your choice. And then, of course, I'm showing the kids a menu of options, and then they can ask. Because if they're brand new, they're like, mage, like, well, what would that mean? Or what do you mean? Especially rogue. A lot of kids are like, what does that mean? Okay. So I'm able to answer all the questions right away. So super simple: warrior, rogue, and mage. So now you have your stats. Your warrior stat at the top, you get a +3. Rogue, you get a +2, and mage, you get a +1.
That is so simple. I that is amazing. I am such
Right?
a fan of that.
Done. Okay. Yeah. So they're different, right? They're staggered based on the order of your choice. So for anyone who doesn't know, the way that this works is we're going to be using dice. Okay, so the higher you get, the better. Okay, so you're rolling the dice. You want to get a higher number as far as a better outcome for whatever it is you're attempting to do. we'll go through some scenarios. But now, let's say you're using your warrior stat. Okay, if you're making a warrior check and you're going to roll the die, that would be obviously that's for combat. Okay, that's for climbing a tree or the wall of a castle. Okay, or breaking down a door, doing something that requires a lot of athletics, physical strength, and all that good stuff. Okay, so you get a +3 when you roll the die, and that will give you your total. And like we said, the higher the better. Okay. So then next it's for rogue, whether you're sneaking around past the guards, that would be a rogue check. Also, you're haggling or trying to negotiate with someone using your words. Maybe you're trying to trick somebody like, oh, these are not the droids you're looking for. Like, okay, you're attempting to a little bit
A
of
little bit of
a
a
Jedi mind trick
deception.
there.
So is does the rogue stat incorporate, like, the charisma stat as well from like, thinking about a D&D type
Yeah,
system? Okay,
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, that makes so much sense.
Right. So it's about being clever.
Mm.
Okay. So whether you're clever with your words, or maybe you're clever with the hiding place as the guards are coming, quick, everybody hide. Okay. And also when it has to do with your awareness, right? So warrior is more physically based and rogue is more mentally based.
Mm.
And you also get a bonus. Your rogue stat also applies to your initiative, which is what
Oh,
we do at the start of combat. Okay. And that determines your turn taking order. Okay. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But so you're starting a combat scenario, and well, who gets to go? Like, it depends on who's aware, right? So we're all going to be going at the same time, but really in the game, you have to take turns. So who goes first? It's based on your rogue stat because it depends on who's noticing what's going on and taking action first,
that makes perfect sense.
right? So it's an awareness. Okay. And then you have mage. So sometimes, if this is your top stat, you also get to pick your school of magic. So
Mm.
you don't have to worry. This is another thing where with D&D, not only are the stats way more complicated and confusing, magic itself is way more complicated and confusing than it needs to be, okay? Because there's different
Yeah.
types of magic, and then
I've
there's
I've
the
never picked a
spells.
wizard or a warlock because I just feel like the whole spell slots
Yeah,
situation is really intimidating as someone
yeah,
who's still fairly new to the game.
exactly. And the whole thing is it's streamlined, easy to play, especially for new players. So we just completely avoid all of that issue. Okay. For anyone you may or may not know, in traditional D&D, there are differences between the wizard and the sorcerer and the warlock and the druid and the cleric. They all use magic, and they all get their spells and regenerate their spells, can reuse them based on, well, it's different for each one of them. Like, okay, so it's extra complicated and difficult, especially for the kids. They're not sure when they're using a spell, they don't know. They're like, could I do that again? Could I do that more? Like, oh, you can only do that,
A certain number of
once today.
times.
There's
Yeah.
limitations on it. And it's a little jumbled and confusing. And so therefore, like, you're not sure how to use these resources because you don't understand the limitations on these resources if you consider your spells that way. So everything's way easier. So now your next stat here, you don't even have to do anything. It's your defense. Okay. So you get into a combat scenario, and let's say you're under attack.
Mm.
All right. There could be a band of goblins coming to raid this village, and you and your companions just stopped by for a pit stop, but now you have to defend yourselves, try to protect the townsfolk. What's going on? I don't know. They're attacking you, shooting crossbows right at you. Okay. So the higher your defense, the harder it is to hit you and deal damage.
Okay.
Okay. So this is equivalent to your armor
Armor class.
class in what we call it in D&D. So your defense, we take your warrior, which is a +3, and we add it to your rogue, which is a +2. Okay, so that's 5.
Okay.
And then we add 10.
Oh, okay. So just
Done.
simple. Yeah. I'm so glad for all of the online systems for because if I was trying to play D&D on a piece of paper, I don't know that I could do all that math.
Yeah,
So I
it's
love the
exactly.
idea of a system where it's just simple.
Right. Exactly. And this is just character creation. Of course, you can get power ups. You can increase your defense. You can increase your stats and all that stuff. That's something we get into later when we're actually in the game. But
Right.
yeah, from the beginning, it doesn't need to be like extraordinarily complicated. So now the higher your warrior, right? So you're able to block blows, and then rogue, you're able to use your mind and your cunning to dodge a little bit. So those two stats work together to get the total for your defense. So your defense is 15, so you get 3 from warrior, 2 from rogue, and then you add the 10. So when I'm rolling the dice against you, I won't hit you unless I get a total of 15 or higher.
Okay.
Right? So the higher the defense, the better it is for you. And of course, now you might have the last thing there. Now you see, if let's say you were playing a magic user,
Right.
something that was more, you're more dedicated to magic. If you put that at the top, you see your defense is going to be lower.
Mm. Yeah, the what is the phrase that they used to describe is it warlocks or wizards where it's like a glass bomb or something or a
Mm,
glass cannon? Yeah, where you're
yeah,
very powerful, but you're very fragile at the same time. So
exactly. Yeah, dealing a lot of damage, but you're pretty vulnerable. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to be much more of what we might call a tank, basically,
Yeah.
because you'll have more defense, more health. Okay, you'll be a lot less fragile than
Yeah.
some of the mages. Okay, so if you're a mage, your defense is lower, but right, you have greater access to magic. So that's part of the trade-off. Okay,
Right, absolutely.
and last core stat here, super simple. Everyone starts with 5 health. Done. Okay. When you take damage, generally you're taking 1 damage.
Okay.
Okay, unless it's doubled, you would take 2, you would take an extra damage if it was a critical hit or if it was from, like, a giant that deals double damage when it smashes you because it's so big and so powerful, or maybe it's some sort of larger, like, siege weapon or something like that, but most of the time, you'll be dealing 1 damage and you'll be receiving 1
Okay.
damage on a hit.
That's
Okay?
I love that. That's so
Yeah.
simple because there's another component of math that I don't have to do.
Right, exactly, and then, yeah, when it comes to, how much damage do I deal, that can get very complicated depending on the type of character that you're playing,
Right.
and it changes based on the weapon you're holding, it changes, are you holding it with 1 hand, are you holding it with 2
2
hands?
hand.
There's all sorts of complications,
Yeah.
and then you have to roll it and hope that you get something decent there. This, you don't have to worry about it. You hit somebody, you're gonna deal a damage or maybe more based on the circumstances,
Right.
and we'll see. So, how much health do they have? Each monster has their own health stat as well. Okay. So, you start with 5 health. You have 15 defense. We have warrior, rogue, and mage. Now, as you're going along, you're some type of warrior. When I think of barbarian and fighter, which you mentioned earlier as archetypes, they're very similar. It really is depending upon what type of special abilities you want to learn, and it's really about the role playing.
Right.
Okay? So in D&D, they split like barbarian and fighter like they're 2 different things. Really, being barbaric is more like a lifestyle.
Right.
So it's about the way you play your character. What makes a barbarian? Maybe you have an anger problem. Maybe you're not super well read and educated. Maybe you don't have great table manners. It's stuff like that that really makes you the barbarian. It's not just like what it says on that sheet of paper.
Right.
Okay. So you get to role play that the way that you want to. All right. And you'll still get to pick your power ups and design your character as we go along. All
That's
right.
great.
So now you have all your core stats. You're ready to go. So I'm going to also put these down on cards. I'll create a stat card for you.
Okay.
All right. And now we just have a few other basic intro questions here. All right. As a warrior here, okay, well, now we're going to have some fun. Now, okay, each character has a focus item. All right. Conan the Barbarian might have had a massive 2-handed greatsword. Harry Potter had a wand.
Hmm.
right? What would you have, Rachel?
Hmm.
So it could be anything, just about
Hmm.
a weapon or otherwise.
I feel like I would want an axe. I feel like that's a fun weapon. I feel like a mace might be like a little showy. I feel like an axe is like it's more of a heavy, like more of a tank weapon than a sword, but not quite as aggressive as a mace, maybe.
I don't know. It depends on what you do with it. Cool. Yeah. So you have an axe. Excellent. Do you want to do like a one handed axe or a great axe that takes two hands?
I think I would go for a great axe, for a two-handed axe.
Awesome. All right. A two handed great axe. Excellent. And as we're going along here, so you're ready right from the jump. You can start out, swing the axe. You're ready to attack. You're ready to fight, do whatever you need to do. And in case it wasn't clear based on the stats, you see how you have all three stats. You just put them in order. It's not like picking one versus the other. So everyone is effectively multi class.
Okay, I like
Okay.
that.
And it's just about what you lean into, basically. You're leaning into the warrior stat, right? That's what you're focused on. That's your thing. That's the role you're playing in the group. And so you might be able to learn a little bit of magic. You just wouldn't be as good as at it
Someone who's
as a
that's their
mage.
major.
Right. But you could use a little bit of that if you want to complement your fighting capability. So you can do all three of these things. That's the point. So just because you're a warrior and you have this big great axe, that doesn't mean that you can't try to negotiate or you can't try to hide or you can't try to use a spell, right? You're just
Right.
best at combat. That's what you've chosen.
That is I really love that as especially with the population you work with primarily being children, I think that's such a great lesson in there too, in terms of, like, having your things that your primary strengths or things that you might be better at than your peers, but that you still have this ability, like, that everyone still has this ability to try these different things. I think that's such a wonderful lesson that's embedded, so that's I have to applaud you on
Yep.
that one, that's really
Thank you.
great.
Exactly. See, I knew this would be fun because you get it. So you've got the great axe, and then you'll be able to learn some special abilities. Okay.
Okay,
So, in terms of the power ups, we split them between the items, such as the great axe, right? That'll be your starting item. That's your focus item. Okay. What you
okay,
specialize in using. So, you have items and then abilities. Okay. So, your abilities include your feats, like extra attacks, critical hits, sneak attack, just speaking in general, other types of abilities. It's all based on you have warrior abilities, rogue abilities, mage abilities for your feats. Okay. So as you're learning new tricks and basically leveling up, you might get to deal like an extra attack or a power attack that deals extra damage or rage. Think about that, right? So you could learn the rage ability if you want
right.
to, and just boom, you're dealing double damage. That's a good example of what we are talking about earlier. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Items and abilities. Okay. Now, last couple things here, very important here. As you're building your character, okay, and I want you to see it and picture it in your mind, okay? What is the character image? Okay. So this is going to be something that is basically homework. All right.
Okay.
But the coolest kind of homework you could have.
I
All
love
right.
coming up with what characters look like. It's always so fun to go onto Hero Forge or any sort of avatar maker that you can find and come up with something. I always think that's a good time.
Exactly. So we're going to be able to actually take that picture and I'm going to build a profile for you online with all your stats and everything
Okay,
you've told me so far. And this will be your profile picture for your character.
that's awesome.
Okay. So, like you were saying, you can just search on Google, okay? You could go to Hero Forge. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a really cool site where you can actually design a miniature figurine and you can get that 3D printed, which is really cool,
Or you can
right?
screenshot it and use
Or
this. Your
Exactly.
profile.
Yeah, I've done that too, exactly. So you can but especially whether or not you 3D print it and bring it when we're in person, but either way, take a screenshot if that's the way you're gonna do it, and I'll upload that onto your profile. So we do need a digital picture one way or another, a screenshot or a JPEG, some sort of file there. We'll upload that. And now it's really cool. I've even had a few kids use AI generated artwork,
Oh, wow.
right? New possibilities are here.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
wild.
Right. We've got some really cool ones. I think we'll do another day where we go through videos and share like all the cool profile pictures that we've got of the kids. Work on whatever you're going to do for your character image and then send that to me when you've got it.
Awesome.
Okay. Lastly, here, this is something you may have right now, or you may want to think about this as well, and it's your character name. Okay, so we do this last. Now you get the image, your archetype, your weapon, your focus item, and all that other stuff we've talked about. So you can come up with your name either right now or give it to me later when you've got your picture. All right.
I think I'm gonna have to do that one as homework because I even as a kid, like, I'm always gonna put way too much thought into this. So, it's
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I
As you
don't know
want to
that I can
really
do
think
it in
about
the
it.
moment.
Right. And that's where the magic starts as well with the kids. It's like, whoa, the creative juices are flowing here. You're creating something from scratch and you get to really shape it and own it. You're creating this all on your own. Okay. So you really end up going deep. You're
Yeah,
thinking about your backstory, you're thinking about your images, you're thinking about your name. And so that way it's a little bit more meaningful. It's a little bit more fun. It's almost like a creative writing assignment. It's a
yeah,
form of self-expression.
absolutely. And
All
I
right?
think that's such a great avenue for kids too, just in terms of tying it to fitness too, in the ways that you do, because I think that if that was something that I had access to as a kid, I would have been way more excited because I love to design a character in a video game when you first start out. That's like the best part. And so
Yeah.
having a world to explore rather than like I was never good at like team sports. I think that's just such a wonderful opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's the number one thing I find, it just in general for one way or another with people who are not so interested in typical team sports. And believe it or not, I was the same. So this is exactly what I could have used. And I'm doing this with partly one-on-one and then partly in our small group. So you're able to get physically active and creative at the same time.
Yeah, it's that's just such a wonderful opportunity.
All right, this will be great. I can't wait for November 23rd, and we'll actually get moving and get into the game and starting out the first adventure in the jungle of Keld, looking for Aunt Edna and the walking hut.
Man, I have no idea where Aunt Edna is. It's so
Yeah,
stressful.
anything could happen. You don't know. What if somebody else finds you first? I don't know.
Oh, man.
Oh.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well, that's my job. Don't worry. I've thought about all of that. So, all right, now you've completed the character creation process, at least the very beginning part. You just have a couple last things to do that we'll put onto your profile. Congratulations. And now you get one gold coin.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
really?
Yes. All right. So
So
this goes
exciting.
into your bank account. All right. Every character, you've got, like I said, your items and your special abilities and your bank account. Right? So money is very much a real thing in the game. It's very much a real thing out of the game. So we all need money. Even in D&D they have money. We just have gold. We use gold coins. There's no
Okay.
other currency. You don't have to worry about silver or copper,
Okay. That's
okay?
great
Don't
because
worry about that.
yeah, I don't want to have to make those translations if I'm going to the market. That's really not what I'm there for.
No. Yeah, nobody needs that. And so you've got 1 gold in the bank now, and when we get there on November 23rd, we'll start out, we'll do some introductions, we'll play some mini games, and as we're playing our mini games, we'll earn even more gold.
Oh,
Okay?
awesome.
So whether it'll be something we do like free for all, or all of you working together as a team, or maybe even a little one-on-one or 2 versus 2, right? Different games. So each of you has your own wallet or bank account, however you want to think about it. You want to earn more money. Okay. Now, the more money you've got, the more powerful your character is. All right. So, this is effectively the gold is a token
Mm,
representation of energy.
okay.
Okay. So, it takes work to earn money, and that takes energy. Okay. So, you're earning these gold coins and you're able to use them as you wish. So you can save your money, you could save your energy, see, or you can expend it when you need to. Okay. So, of course, you can go shopping, you can buy health potions, you can buy new items, all sorts of stuff that you can use your money for, as well as activating and boosting some of your roles. Okay, so now we're going to go into the last little thing I want to cover today is going over some basic game mechanics.
Okay.
Okay, so the gold is the first one. Okay, so we were talking about dice earlier. So I think this will be easier. I'm going to do a little bit of a screen share with a dice generator. Okay, so especially you're familiar with these already,
Oh,
but
yeah.
this will be extra important for anyone in the audience here. So let me see. We have this, that. All right. So let me make sure these things are out of the way. All right. You see the dice,
Oh, yes,
right?
absolutely.
Okay, good. For all the new people out there, we just want to also explain most of the time, you're going to use this die right here, the 20-sided die known as the D. Let's go through some basic scenarios. You're attacking you're in that fight, the goblins attack that village, okay? They had you let's say they're attacking you first. Maybe this is a sneak attack by the goblins, okay? So, sorry, Rachel.
Oh, man.
You're under attack, crossbows everywhere, okay? So, I click here. We're gonna roll 1d20. That's gonna be representing the goblin shooting the crossbow at you. Oh, alright. So, Rachel, do you remember your defense is 15? Good. Okay. So 15 or higher in total, that means you got hit by the crossbow and you take damage.
Okay.
Okay. Now they're like not super strong. Okay. Goblins, they're generally more dangerous in large numbers, but they're not super strong individually. So he's got a warrior of +1. Okay. So I'm going to put this bonus in here. And now the attack roll. Here we go. I rolled a 7 plus 1 for a total of 8. All right. So I just missed you. Your defense, I did not hit your defense of 15. Okay. So you're in the clear, no damage. So let's say it's your turn here. Would you like to attack them back?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
What do you think we're doing here?
I
So now let's see here. So you're going to roll the d20. Oh, here, let me clear that. Let's see here. Okay, bring it down back down to 1. So, you've got 1d20 here, okay? So, you're gonna use your warrior stat, right? Because 'Cause you've got your axe,
yes.
okay? So, you're making a physical attack, boom, you wanna smash them, bring the axe down, okay? So, this is your +3 from your warrior stat. Now, here's where it gets interesting, okay? Because 'Cause you're not using any magic, you can just make a regular attack roll free of charge. You've got your 1d20 +3, okay? So let's just say your first attack, you're just gonna do a regular basic attack, return fire. Here we go. Where is it? How weird. Let's try that one more time. All right. So here we go. Attack roll. 9. Okay. So you have 6 plus the 3 from your warrior bonus for a total of 9. You also failed to attack the goblin. All
Oh,
right.
man,
Make
we both
sense?
whiffed it on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you never know what's going to happen, right? So thankfully, you're going to have some teammates. You're going to have some other adventurers with you. And of course, the goblin's going to have his squad there. But now this is the more interesting part that I also want to show. So you've got one gold coin. Now, let's say it's a scenario where it's more important for you to be successful. Okay. Like, I really need this. All right. This is where you can use your gold to boost your dice. Okay. By spending one gold coin, you can add 1d4 onto the roll, just like that. Okay. So now you have 1d20 plus 1d4, the four-sided die, and the plus three all together. Does that make sense?
Yes. I really hope I don't
Okay.
get a nat 1.
That would be awful. Let's roll. 14. Here we go.
Alright.
Okay. So you see the, like I said, the higher the total, the better, right? So a 14, that is a hit. Boom. You slash down with the axe and just, that's a kill shot. Okay. Also, generally, when you have a killing blow against a monster in the tradition, we say, how do you want to do this? And you get to describe cinematic moment where you take out this monster that you're attacking. All right. So I hope you're going to be ready to do that. Right.
Oh,
Give some
always.
descriptions here.
Yes.
Okay. So now we just see, you see, there's dice here, right? The
Right.
D4, this one comes first. Okay. So we have one, two, three, four, five dice. Okay. So you're going to be able to actually spend your gold. It's going to be the upper limit for how much gold you can spend is equal to your stat. So your warrior is a plus three. You could actually spend up to three gold.
Okay.
All right. Assuming you had three gold, right? So if you spend three gold, you don't add that D4. If you're going bigger, okay, spending three gold, okay, one, two, three. You add the D8.
D8. Okay.
Okay. Because maybe I really need to make this happen. I want to
Sometimes
get
you
this done.
do.
Absolutely. Especially whether it's combat, excuse me, or maybe you need to like jump over some sort of pit trap or something. You're like, oh my God, I don't want to fail this.
Yeah,
So you want to put a
absolutely.
little bit of your hard earned gold into it, expend a little bit of your energy and get a boost.
Yes.
Okay. So just to show it one more time, if you spend three gold, here you go. You have your 1d8. Okay. Let's see what happened to our d20 here. So I had to roll it again. 16. Look at that. Even
Yeah.
higher. Okay. So that's the way it's going to go when you're boosting your dice. Okay. So I'll try to bring this one back down. So if you spend one gold, you add a d4. If you spend two gold, you add a d6. If you spend three gold, you add a d8. And that's where your limit is at right now because your warrior is your highest stat, and that's a plus three.
Right.
Okay. So if I come back for a second, if you were, let's just switch to a different scenario, right? Because
Okay.
that was combat. Okay. So now maybe you have to sneak around and not get caught, right? We have to be very quiet here. Very tough for a lot of the kids these days. So
Tough for
that's
some of
a,
the adults too.
yeah, that's like its own kind of skill. We're gonna have to practice being quiet, being patient here. So it's gonna be a rogue roll, right? It's a based on your rogue stat. So you could spend up to two gold because your rogue is a plus two.
That makes
Make
sense.
sense? Okay, so you
Absolutely.
still get the same roll, and then magic, you see now you can use magic, but you have that limit of one gold. Okay? And that's just based on your character. So
Yeah, absolutely.
the now if you let's say your mage was a plus three, that was your top stat. Okay, so the one trick here that I want to tell everybody about is that if you're using magic, you have to spend a minimum of one gold.
Mm.
Okay. That is your magic energy. These are your spell points. And your
Okay.
mana. Okay. So it's sometimes in games we call it mana, right? It's
Yes.
like magical energy that you have. Okay. So the gold that you're earning, if you're a mage, you can blast that magical energy whenever you want. And it just depends on the school of magic that you use. So you might be a pyromancer who could shoot fireballs, or you might be an illusionist who could create illusions that trick people. Whatever it is, the more money you spend, it actually does something bigger. Okay? So, like, one gold is small, then there's a mid-level, then a larger level based on, like, how like, do you want, like, 1 firebolt? Or if you want, you can learn how to use more of your magical energy and shoot, like, a massive fireball. Alright? Make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't matter who else is in the room from your party. We're just going for
It doesn't matter.
it.
Yeah. As long as you shoot the fireball, right? So you've got different levels. So then you got to decide, you got to make your own calculation here. When I make this roll, do I want to boost it? Okay.
Mhm.
If it's magic, you got to spend at least one. Otherwise, it's up to you. So as a warrior, that's one of the trade-offs as well, because you could swing your axe and you don't have to worry about running out of gold. See what I mean?
Right.
If you're out of gold, you're out of magic
Yeah,
until you
that's a
get more
great
gold.
I think that's such a great it's very the way that you've condensed so many different components into stats that I think are very digestible. This is as someone who's coming into it, I don't know a ton about D&D, but what I do know, like, it seems so much simpler and, like, such a fun way to get people who are new to RPGs into the game, so it's just I just yeah, I'm very impressed. It's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. There's so much going on, all condensed into what we've been talking about today. And then we'll get into it more with somebody else who's creating a mage. We'll get more into magic and schools of magic and how that works. Because that's something else I think that's really cool, because when D&D, it tells you like very concretely what you can and can't do with spells. It gives you it's detailed on the range or the time and all these things, which are very hard to keep track of.
Yes.
And so with this system, you get more creative license here. You get more creativity, more self-expression,
Mm,
because there's more than one way to use your school of magic. Okay. So if you just, here's a fun little exercise. I don't know if you ever encountered this before. Okay. I wasn't really planning to go into this, but let's have some fun.
yeah.
If okay, if I gave you like a minute or two here, and I think, let's say, think of a brick, one standard brick. Okay. How many uses can you think of for a brick? Okay. Let's try some.
Okay.
We'll brainstorm here. Okay. Obviously, you could build a house or something. You could
Yeah.
build with it. Okay. That's the most obvious. That's like, what does this brick do? Okay. You build with it. What else could you do with a brick? Like, could you do?
It could be a paperweight, a makeshift hammer, or a blunt object of any kind.
Yes.
Man.
Let's say it's a stepping tool if you need to reach a light bulb or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Okay.
absolutely. You could use it to break a lock. You could
Yeah. No,
you could use
exactly. See
it
what?
to flatten something.
Yeah. Maybe flatten a piece of paper out or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, or yeah, something
I
that
don't
was
know why
wrinkled.
my mind went to hamburger, like, on, like, a grill press.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Exactly. You're in a pinch. Who knows? Sometimes you have to get creative. You're thinking about, what do I have? How can I use it? So
Yeah.
I'm far less controlling about, well, that's not what the book says, how to use that item, right? But it's your item. And if you can
Mhm.
describe the way you're going to use it, so be it, right?
Yeah.
Get creative. And some people just have like a zillion ideas. Some people you generally see like, this is a hammer, right? I hit the nail, as the
Yeah.
saying goes. So it just helps to get the creativity out there so that you're thinking, what else could I do with this? How
Yeah.
do I, it's like MacGyver. He's like the
Exactly.
ultimate guy, right?
Well, what it's just I think those are some of the most fun moments that I've had, like, playing those RPG games when you have that moment of, like, "How can we take this thing that wasn't at all made to do this and just, like, really annoy the game master or dungeon master to, like, we're gonna make this work. Like, we're gonna figure out how to, like,
Yeah.
do this, put this key in this lock, but it's not a key. It's, like, I don't know, a banana or
Yeah,
something. It's just like, no, like, it shouldn't work at all. But I think that's,
right.
like, where you get the most fun out of it in terms of, like, getting that opportunity to be creative and goofy and to think really outside the box.
Yeah, it's creative problem solving.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's the fun part. As the tour guide, I'm going to throw the scenarios at you and show some problems and be like, I don't know. How are you going to handle it? What are you going to do about it? Right? Look at this
right.
scenario. The village is under attack by a band of goblins. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. You tell me. It's your choice. Okay. So you got to be creative there. And sometimes you can think outside of the box and just avoid the fight altogether
Yeah,
or come up with very surprising solutions, right? You can think of solutions instead of just like brute problem solving. There's more than one way to solve a problem.
yes.
All right. So you see the way the gold works. Okay. So and you still have your gold. Don't worry. Right. That
Okay,
was a
good. I was a little
scenario.
bit worried. I was
Nah,
like, "I don't know if I wanna burn it. I don't
right.
know if I need
Nah,
it."
just an example. Okay. Still have one. And there's so much gold in your future. I can see it
So
now.
exciting.
I can see it.
Okay,
You're gonna
perfect.
be just riches,
Like
riches.
Scrooge McDuck swimming.
Thank you. That's the image. Don't worry. And of course, yeah, you want the money to flow. So money
Yeah,
comes in, money comes out, it flows. You don't have to stress about it. You're gonna be there's plenty more where that came from. That's what I like to say. Okay.
excellent.
Now, real simple, we have like the advantage system, right? I wanna just get through a couple more things to prep for the intro.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
advantage, say you have a scenario and okay, if you can put yourself into the right position, you have an advantage. You have leverage. All right. So, depending on the scenario, let's say you're a warrior. Let's say this time you're sneaking around behind one of the buildings here. You come up behind one of those goblins and he
Okay,
doesn't know you're there. That's a surprise. Okay. This is effectively a sneak attack. Okay. So that gives you an advantage, right? So it wouldn't be fair to just treat it exactly the same. Okay. So by putting yourself into a position where you have the advantage, you get bonus dice. All right. And it's the exact same thing. I'm going to, in my head, like as my job as the tour guide, I will figure out how much advantage do you have, and I will pick a number 1 through 5. And it's just like as if you had spent that much gold for that.
that's
Okay.
great.
Simple. So if it's a little bit of advantage, you get the 1d4 and so on. It goes up to 1d5. You get an extra d12 on your roll,
Wow.
and you can spend your money if you want to just,
Get really crazy with it.
yeah. 'Cause that's up to you, right? So you'll get the advantage based on the circumstances, okay? Because we have to reward that for our players, okay? It's not just like everything is equal, random chance, roll the dice. That's boring, okay? So the art of the game is also taking advantage of your abilities here. Like, well, maybe I could find a way to sneak up on this guy. Maybe I could create a distraction, get the guards distracted, and then I have a huge advantage when I'm trying to sneak away. Okay. Now it's a creative problem solving. Like, how do I create advantage and leverage in this scenario? Okay. Just like
Yeah.
what you want to do in real life, right?
No, I think that's such an excellent skill to be rewarding in the game in the sense of when you're, like, encouraging kids to think creatively and think outside the box and do that sort of, like, critical thinking and problem solving on their feet, like, I think that's just great, and then because in the real world, there are those advantages when you are able to think outside the box like that, so I think that's
Yeah.
really wonderful.
Exactly. And it might come from something you did all by yourself, or you might get some advantage by teamwork, like working
Yeah,
together as a
totally.
team with some of the other players there. And in D&D, it's binary the way they have it set up now. You either have advantage or you don't have advantage, and you get to roll 2d20s and take the
Right.
higher, right? Disadvantage, you take the lower. So it's different in our system. There's a scale. Okay. So it's not black and white, it's a scale, it's a sliding scale 1 through 5. How
Right.
much advantage do you have? Okay. Is it huge? Is it minor? Okay. And so there's a quality to it. Okay. You can have greater advantages based on the scenarios. You get extra dice, let it rip. Okay. Does it make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. So that's part of my job as the tour guide to decide how much advantage, or even if it was disadvantage, it can work against you. It's like,
Oh, man.
oh, you've been tied up. Like they tied your hands together, they tied your legs together, and they tossed you in the lake. That's a disadvantage. That's a
That's a
serious
struggle.
disadvantage. Yeah. That's a struggle. So, it can work in both directions. Sorry, right? That's another thing. So, you don't wanna
Oh,
be,
man. I
like,
was
in
hoping
a
it would just be
disadvantage.
advantage.
Yeah. So, that's just part of, the job of being the tour guide, figuring out advantage and disadvantage. And, of course, you can argue about, "Well, wait a minute. Oh, I forgot I have this special item," or
This
whatever,
class I
you know.
took and whenever, like, this should make me this so that I have an advantage on this particular role. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
it's
so
always
th
fun to make your case to try to wheedle you're like, "Well, I know that I'm a bard, but, like, technically a sword is an instrument, right?"
Right.
Try
Right,
to get
exactly.
around.
Yeah. So you want to make your case, like you said, and negotiate and, yeah, explain, like, well, I think I should have advantage here, or what about this, or what about that? So you negotiate a little bit. That's another skill you get in the game. All right. And the last thing here is combat. Okay. We have different types of encounters. All right. So combat is a major type of encounter. You do get to fight monsters, whether they're a bunch of little goblins, a large manticore flying through the sky, or you name it, a banshee, a dragon. It goes on and
Man.
on. So there are creatures galore, and sometimes you get into combat. All right. So briefly here, we do start with rolling initiative. Okay. That determines our turn taking order. Like we said, that's based on your rogue stat. Okay. And it'll be up to you if you want to boost it or not. You can even boost your initiative rolls.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So everyone will roll initiative, including me, and that will determine the turn taking order. That simple. Okay. In our game, we're actually going to shuffle. We will do like a musical chairs. We are going to seat ourselves
Oh,
so that
that's
we go
great.
in a circle clockwise around the table.
Oh, that's awesome. Because then that's great too for the kids to give them a chance to stand up and, like, move
Yeah.
around, and that's great.
Yeah. Also, it just gets jumbled. Like people are like, "Wait, was I next? Were you next?" Like no one in the middle of
It's
the
hard
whole
to
thing.
tell.
You don't remember all of the numbers. So some you're like, who's next? Was it you? And then you, and then it's like the Spider-Man meme. Everyone's like pointing, like, was it my turn?
Yeah,
Like really simple. We're just gonna go in a
in a
circle.
circle.
Okay. So just get up and sit over there. Boom, problem solved. So that's it. Initiative is how we kick off combat. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to create some stats that go on your cards. So you have a card with your main stats. You'll have a card with other special items and abilities. Okay. Your inventory, right? Where you keep all your items. So each of these goes on a card. You don't have a traditional character sheet. You don't have to worry about all that. Okay.
That's great.
So now, also, if you get, let's say you buy a health potion with some of your gold, you're like, oh my God, I got, one of these goblins hit me with a crossbow, right? I need to heal up a little bit. So you spend 1 or 2 gold, you get a health potion. That would be another card. I would hand that to you. And whenever you drink the health potion, right, you give me the card that's gone. Okay. And of course, you heal, some health, right? So the cards help chunk all of the information. So by looking at the cards that you've got, you can decide what you want to do, right? Look
Right.
at the cards that you've been dealt and be like, all right, here's what I've got. I've got a great axe. I got 3 gold in the bank, right? Oh, I'm all out of health potions or whatever. What am I going to do? Okay. Take a look. Maybe your cards would also have your special abilities on there, like rage. You'd be like, "Oh,
Right.
that's what I'm gonna do," right? That's the solution. So, now we're gonna go around and round in a circle, okay? This works a little differently than traditional D&D as well. So, the last thing with combat is we go in rounds. Okay, so of course we start, it's round one. We're going to be going around and around the table. Okay, we're going to go around and around the table until everybody's all set and they've done everything that they need to do in that round. Okay, and then we will reset all of the cards and begin round two. All
Okay.
right. So, for example, it was your turn and the goblins are there. So, you have major actions and you have minor actions. That's it. Okay. If you're doing a major action, which would be such as attacking or using a spell, right? Also, most of the time, moving is a major action as well,
Okay.
right? But you can move and attack
In the same
in
turn.
one major
Okay.
action. Okay, just to
You've
clarify.
got you've got the momentum already.
Yeah, you just charge. Yeah, you're charging and making an attack. If you're doing something major like moving or attacking or using magic, all you're going to do is turn your card sideways. Okay, turn your card horizontal. The card with your name and your stats on it. Okay, that represents that you have taken your major action in that round. Okay, so we go around and around the table. It'll be up to you if you want to do a major action right away, turn the card, or you could pass. Okay, see what happens, wait until it comes around to you again, or you could do a minor action. So you wouldn't have to spend your card, right? So a minor action would be like drinking that health potion we were talking about earlier. Pop the
Right.
health potion. Okay, you've healed up. And now it doesn't matter if your card is turned sideways or not. You can do a minor action either way. Okay. So during round one, we'll go around and around. You get to do all the minor actions and the major action that you can do, whatever you want to do at that round. When everybody passes and we're all done, we reset all the cards and begin the next round. Does that make
That
sense?
makes perfect sense.
All right. So that way you get to decide, okay, do I attack now? Do I wait? Do I drink that health potion or do I attack first? Do I work with my teammates? Do I pass? You have to plan, okay? And then it's very simple. The cards just keep track of everything. We go around, you reset, and then you're ready to go again.
Right. That
Okay?
makes and I think the cards, that's great to have, like, a visual token just to remember what you have in your inventory, and because I feel like sometimes with a character sheet, it's hard like, having a visual is just so excellent for figuring that out, and then being able to see other people's too at the table, I think that's great to give you that strategy.
Right. Exactly. And the cards help not just having all that same information, but just putting each one on a separate card helps you picture it in your head. It's so much easier than if it's
Right.
all jumbled onto one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that you just write everything on one sheet of paper. It gets jumbled and the kids are disorganized. They can't make
Right.
sense of it. It
Well,
really
as
doesn't
an
make sense.
adult as
Yeah.
an
Or an
adult,
adult.
it can be tricky to keep track of everything on especially, like, when I'm working with, like, PDFs or something online, so I think that idea of, like, just, okay, it's a card, it's a visual like, you've got it, like, it's just perfect.
Thank you very much. Right? See, I'm glad. See, I knew as someone who had played some D&D that you can appreciate some of the changes that we've made creating this brand new system, live action fitness. So, not only are we getting the kids moving and physically active, we're having fun and our system is streamlined so the kids are ready to get in the game right away.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I'm so in awe of it.
Thank you very much. So I can't wait to see you there November 23rd, and we'll get in the game. And that's just the beginning here. So you've still got one gold coin in the bank. I'll create your cards based on your stats and just take a look online, figure out what you want to do with your character image and your name. That's it.
Alright, perfect.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. This was a blast.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
All right. See you next time. Bye bye.